Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. Who am I kidding? It's not warm, it's cold. Look at me. I'm in a coat. I don't normally put on a coat at all. It's just been cold all day. And I do mean all day. Like, obviously I'm filming this at like 7 in the evening, but yeah, no, it's like even like during midday, basically, or about a bit after that, actually, like 1:45, when I was going to a meeting, basically. It was raining, it was freezing, I didn't have a coat then, and I was carrying a bag of props in my hand for the rehearsal that we were going to do straight after. So yeah, that was a fun time. So, to be honest, like, today has been pretty draining for several reasons, honestly. Not just because of, it's just because of like the cold, but just because, we had a couple of talks today. Well, I say we, I wasn't at the first one, because I knew that there was like a timetable module thing for the single honors people that was with one of the tutors that I don't normally have. So every time it's like, oh, we have a meeting with, then I don't really go to those. Except for, this one I possibly should have done, just because it was once again talking about the festival. However, I think I got the gist of the most important part of that. And it was... Sorry, hold on, cars. Actually, I'm going to turn this way. I don't go too far downhill. I wanted this to be nice and quick, because I don't have much time in order to, render it if it comes in two parts. So I'm going to be trying to be fast now. But yeah, so basically the basic thing was that apparently we have a hard deadline for our pictures now, or like a hard setting basically for our pictures to come out, which will be the 15th. So I have a fortnight basically to work on, pictures, which, by the way, you know what? I'm just going to call that a week. Let's say it's a week, because that's, around that same time, I'll have, a full treatment package and 5 minutes of script submission to do, and a reflective commentary for creative writing. And the week before that is the directorial assessments. We've got a tech rehearsal and stuff like that, and also platform presentations. So that's finally happening. But yeah, that's so basically I just got the important thing that the detail was on the 15th. I think that's kind of what I had to concern myself with, basically. I just happened to arrive a few minutes early for the other meeting that happening straight after that. That was basically just about, like, catching up with the year. And that one was informative, but it was also kind of a disaster. Because there were quite a few things that need to be addressed. So, as I said before, I usually did an assessment where, I was directing. So for that I was marked on my directing, and that's being given back accordingly. But however, the actors, of course, during that were marked on their acting, naturally speaking. And they was not fairly marked at all. For example, there were certain things that the actors got marked down for that was down to directors' choices, not, telling them not to do these things. I don't have specifics, really, and also I don't want to dive into too many examples. I did actually briefly mention, because someone told me that yesterday, that they got marked down for that exact same assessment because they, the parts would have been better off script. Now, normally you think, well, duh, everything would be better off script. What kind of feedback is that? And to some extent, you're right. However, this assessment was a rehearsed reading. These actors had 5 hours to prepare this stuff. Granted, as directors, we were instructed to give them their scripts beforehand, so they could research and possibly, you know, learn some things about their characters and such, but they weren't required to learn their lines. I say directors, there's some directors that apparently didn't actually send their scripts forward, which then resulted in people not knowing about the research and everything, which in turn impacted their marks, which in turn people complained about, which in turn meant that everyone got raised 2%, even if they had, even if their directors did give them that information beforehand. So essentially, the people that the directors that didn't get anything sent, or the actors that didn't do the research, basically, and that, you know, would have been marked down, having given all the resources they had, were rewarded for complacency. So yeah, not good overall. General bad, all round there. So those are just the main examples, and that raised the whole discussion because the head of department was there. The head of department hadn't done the marks himself, and you know that's fairly normal. That's a regular occurrence. But he is now going to take up with the team and, you know, try to assess them. And remarks have already happened. It's not like GCSEs where I guess you have one remark and then that's it. Or at least I really hope for everyone's sake that's the case. But yeah, they'll I know, the head will sort that out, you know. Okay, oh wow, it's blending into the shadows now. I banished myself to the shadow realm, haven't I? Okay. I'm just trying to find the best way with many more cars, but also now lighting's become an issue. Anyway, so needless to say, no one was really happy. And, you know, then that kind of carried on during the directorial assessments. And, again, I don't want to talk about those ones too much, but needless to say, that kind of affected the group morale, and there was a lot of discussion, you know, beforehand, while we were still all setting up. Yeah, I kind of get the sense that the department is just not communicating with each other, and that's what's causing all the disparities. I mean, it even goes so far as like this assessment that we're doing now. Actually, the writers are still being given feedback on their scripts to go and like to go and make changes actually, and like sending them off to the tutor. However, you know, that would normally be fine, but in this instance, the production management team is now getting on to me, the director, to send in a full prop list, which we have, by the way, we said that part, and also a lighting and sound script, which we're meant to have for the tech rehearsal, and so they can plot the stuff beforehand, but we are an entire week in advance. And apparently it doesn't take too long to plot lights. I'm not saying this to like get out of doing this myself. I'm saying this because given all the rewrites, the definitive script, even to this moment, does not currently exist. And therefore, even though the deadline for that, as arbitrarily composed by one of the students, who by the way is the same one who booked the rooms for me and messed up that schedule for me in the first place, is today, I can't give him entirely everything. I can do my best, and I have been working on that. In fact, I actually got 1 hour of sleep before that meeting, which is why I missed the one beforehand, because I was like, I do not want to go to this, I'm sorry. I need at least an hour of time. So, yeah, I've been trying. And, you know, lo and behold, we had more rewrites for this rehearsal. Apparently now, the final scene is going to be complete by tonight, which is great. However, that means that unless I check my emails and it's miraculously there, I'm not going to be able to plot anything about it. Because, yeah, that's not good. I know, I'm really trying, honestly. It's also worth mentioning that I don't have, you know, Office on my laptop, so depending on, like, sometimes I'll be like, I've ungodly library hours, but instead I reformatted the page in order to have it on a SharePoint and not just in a WordPad. It's all just utter devastation, and eventually someone's going to try and have to take the flak for all that, and that's going to be the people trying to play the mediators, aka the directors. So needless to say, I'm not very happy right now in general. But that's just me. That's just me seeing the problems that are happening. Like, the actors themselves, they haven't been able to learn their lines because everything's been changing. The writers have been getting pressure from that one tutor in order to make changes constantly to their thing that they should have actually completed beforehand. In fact, the same tutor himself said have 10 pages ready, and yet the writer that I had didn't have that, probably because she was feedbacking to that same tutor again. There's just nothing going on. And again, I'm trying to stay clear from what's going on in the rehearsals, obviously, because, that's what my tutor told me not to say. And there was also a subtle dig, I think, from the head of department about certain people talking about other certain people, but then, the students in particular, actually, on social media. Gee, I wonder if someone would be so callous as to air their concerns about and grievances on social media. I mean, I don't know if he's referring to me specifically. I'll be serious for a second. I don't think he's referring to Walking Wednesday. I don't think he knows that Walking Wednesday exists. In fact, he probably hasn't thought to look under Jacob Butter for anything in particular, because I haven't even mentioned the name of the uni that I go to. I've been very careful to not do that. But on the other hand, it's not quite as subtle for some other people. Particularly ones on accounts that have their real names, their affiliated universities, all that stuff. And yeah, he did say it was something to do with cyberbullying or something like that. So I'm guessing what it really is drama amongst the students. That's not quite to do with the actual department, but that's me speculating. Because every time he brings up social media, this happened before, by the way, in meetings. Every time in a meeting he brings up social media, he'll always say, we don't want to go into detail. So, yeah, I don't know. It's there was one time during first year when he actually specifically mentioned that somebody fallen victim of racism, and yet didn't elaborate at all as to the circumstances. Partly because obviously that's something one individual, so you don't want to target them. So that kind of makes sense. I'm just saying it kind of I end up finding out who that person was and what circumstances those were under. And if anything, actually, to be perfectly honest, it could have been considered racism, but at the same time, it was more like a nationality thing, of a nationality that comprises a large portion of the body of students. That, again, if I hadn't figured this out, that was just in blown up proportion. I could have thought that there was some closeted racist among the students or something, which, to my knowledge, to this day, 2 years later, there are not. So, yeah, sometimes being vague is essential, but overall, a very huge obstacle. In this instance, kind of the same, because he mentioned cyberbullying, and I have no idea who might be cyberbullying who, what that's all about, how exactly, he figured all of this out in the first place, what to avoid. It's just, once again, not too well communicated. Again, partly it makes sense, but partly I'm please at least, I don't know, say the site that it's happened on or something. Who knows? Maybe I, as the Jacob Butter doing Walking Wednesday, have accidentally cyberbullied someone via my grievances and complaints about stuff that's going on. Honestly, I don't know. On one hand, it's almost like he's trying to have an incentive for people to stop discussing, things to do with with people that are at the uni or the uni itself. I don't really know. All I know for certain is I have no intention of stopping talking about these issues, because trust me, it gets worse with every passing week. Especially because they're now trying to concern themselves with like the fun festival. Meanwhile, we have 2 assessments, if possibly 3 actually if you're single honours, from that same department within the next few weeks. And yet in a fortnight's time we're supposed to have our pictures ready for this festival that's supposed to be fun and casual and is in several months' time. So you can see how we're all a little disappointed, to say the very least. And I don't speak just for myself. I'm genuinely saying that no one is satisfied right now. I can't name a single student, well I won't name a single student anyway, but I can't name a single student that feels like everything is going according to plan and that this is like drafted up in our favour. There's always somebody complaining, like even production management wanting stuff from me that they need to like plot beforehand, but it's me needing something from the writers, or the actors need something from me as well, or I don't know, the writers need something from that tutor. It's like just a whole massive feedback loop. And the thing is that the tutors themselves weren't actually there. Like the ones who were doing this assessment, the acting one, the directing one, the writing one, none of them were there during this meeting that was called. So they're the ones who did the marks. If they wanted to defend their position or acknowledge their mistake, they had the perfect chance to do it there, but no. Now the head of department has to go and, hound them down and actually, talk to them in private, which might be a little bit better, but at the same time, it would have been nice for the students to be able to get the chance to say things directly, because, I don't know, who knows, the head might paraphrase or something, might miss a certain point. I mean, I don't think he will, he's a very smart guy, but still, it could happen. But yeah, I guess we'll never know. And presentation, again, same department, not much better, but, then again, at least we know our assessment dates and our schedules and everything. Like, we have a clear goal of that in mind. It's just, once again, more stuff to actually, write and plan and devise. I mean, yeah, like now we've actually been given, our 2 weeks of time. We're like the second week now, obviously, because 1 week after the assessment happens. We've got now 2 weeks time from a 8-week lecture thing. And meanwhile, what did we spend one of the first seminars on? 1 hour of learning how to color fonts. Which, to quote one of my fellow students, that could have been an email. Yeah. Again, this is all just bubbling up at once, and they said to us that, we're putting the festival on a pedestal as to, making sure that it would be perfect and everything, and because of the seeming urgency that we have now, it's all going to crumble, essentially. And we're all going to crumble, I mean, not it's going to crumble, but we should really be able to, that's when he's saying be more casual. Yeah, but what about the assessments? What about the one assessment that's next week, and the tech rehearsal for the other one, and also I think 2 for single honors and 1 for dual honors that have that don't appear there. It's like it's just nothing makes sense anymore. But yeah, like it's almost like they're thinking several steps ahead, but they're not acknowledging the moment. I think maybe because you mentioned COVID as well, coming back after lockdown and everything. And part of me thinks that, yeah, it might be because we're all getting adjusted once again, but also because they don't know if anything's going to get shut down. So they probably want to have all these plans, this assessment, even this assessment, now, in a week's time, who knows, the Omicron variant might sweep the city or something like that, who knows, and then we'll be all sent home again or something like that. So I think they're all just secretly still panicking. Or not so secretly, actually, as the case may be. But I really do, but again, I really do not know. So yeah, that's that. Not to mention as well, creative writing, at least that's going well. I have an assessment for that I have to, give in 2 weeks as well. But at the very least, I have a plan for that, and they gave us a weekly structure, like a day-by-day structure of how to produce what we need to produce in that time frame. It's just so much better. I haven't even been able to give that much attention because of all the drama happening in, well, drama. But yeah, that's something. It's a miracle I managed to, post that song a couple of days ago. Because on a more positive note, just to end off and wrap up after this massive rant, Mona and I have been dating for a month and a bit now, a few days. And, I released a song for her called Drama Queen. You probably some of you saw that. I think it kind of just mildly underperformed because I kind of posted it in the middle of a stream, so everyone watched it anyway over there. That was, but the point is it was for her to see, so that at least worked out. Master X apparently has now posted a what if GT was a Z fighter, which was my next what if on the Butter Bunch, so I'm going to have to deal with that basically. That's all filmed, so I'm going to have to address that and hopefully edit that soon. Who knows if I'll have time? Pray to whatever god you may worship. I don't care if it's multiple or one or whatever. Just, I need some strength, people. Also, please leave a like or dislike because your opinion matters, and subscribe if you've done so already. Hopefully next week I'll be less tired and more chipper, and just overall loving life a little bit more than I am currently. On that note, until next time, farewell.